Hi, Christian Rivera here. One of the things that I do, and I suspect that if you're a video editor, which is one of the things that I do, that something you would like to do is to create social clips seamlessly or have an easier way to do it. I have done it through Adobe Premiere and have done the whole process of auto framing and um, transcribing and doing all of that stuff. And those tools are getting better and faster, but they are not quite what I would like them to be for, frankly, me and my brain. I have dyslexia, and it's really hard to edit a ton of text. And what I appreciate about this tool, which is Opus Clip, is that it uses AI, large language models specifically, to transcribe the video. So in my instance, I have a full video without graphics on it, a video podcast that I ran through Opus Clip, which you can drop a link to an existing YouTube video or Google Drive link or something like that, or you can simply upload the video up to 10 gigabytes, and maximum duration is 3 hours, and it's going to go through and edit all sorts of sections of the clip. You'll set parameters. It can be up to 3 minutes or under 30 seconds. I like to do between 30 to 60 seconds. And then when it's done processing, you'll get all of these clips. In this case, it produced 35 clips for me to go in and make adjustments to. Now, the thing that's the value for this tool is the ability to discern like what is a good clip, because what I was doing before is that I needed to go through the timeline and basically manually select and listen to what would make for a good clip. And while I could do that, that was very taxing on my brain for me as I don't know if it was a personality type thing or uh, something with my brain specifically, but I would start to get headaches, and it was just a very taxing process. So this ability to have Opus Clip spit out essentially 35 clips, it gives a score. It says this is a viral score, quote unquote, which I think is like an effectiveness score. It's like how likely it is that you'll use this clip. And then it gives a title, and which is great because you can copy and paste that title into your posting. Um, and it also gives you the transcript of the clip itself under here at the bottom. And then it also tells you why it chose this clip, like why this clip is effective, right? Right here. So the video effectively hooks the viewer with its intriguing discussion on the concept of growing up. It flows logically, providing valuable insights and personal connections that resonate with the audience. The trend topic of personal development makes it relevant and engaging. However, it could benefit from a stronger call to action. And that sort of feedback at the bottom there is because this is from a podcast, so it's not meant to provide a call to action. It's not someone deliberately talking to the camera and saying, go check out this. So otherwise, like, great. So you can preview the clip here on the left. Just click
And
start.
so growing up means being tuned in to these opportunities of going, like, they almost feel like
Yeah.
0 to 1 moments, right? It's like, oh, I didn't know that I didn't know that I could see things that way.
Right.
We talk about how our 30s feel so different than our 20s.
Yeah.
Right. I feel like I spent my 30s cleaning up my 20s, and now I'm in my 40s. I'm like, this is a totally different ball of wax than my 30s was, right? And I assume that this is just going to keep going. So growing up means understanding that it's not just keeping a plate spinning after a certain time.
Yeah.
It's like actually continuing to develop and grow up and understand bigger and bigger levels of consciousness all throughout your life.
And I think continually asking the question, what am I ready for?
Yes.
That really stuck out to me. Yeah.
And so,
Okay, so then it starts looping the clip so you can kind of see how it feels looping. So what's nice about this is that I only had to do minor edits here, which I can do. You can see at the bottom here, there's these 4 key tools. There's auto posting, which is nice. You can connect your YouTube, TikTok, Instagram Reels, and LinkedIn and have that. You can set up the title and the description, and then you can schedule posts. on here. I don't know how robust the scheduler is. I have not personally tested that, but it's pretty cool that you could do that directly from Opus Clip. And so Opus Clip becomes kind of your social media clip hub of sorts, which is interesting. You can export the XML file, so it's the transcript basically, to Premiere, and then you can download the clip and then edit the clip. So first we're going to do is edit. So this is already done, but I'm going to show you the process anyway, and go through this. So what's nice is that you can set up templates up here, set up different templates. You can also edit brand template, which is something I haven't personally gone through in full detail, but this essentially gives you the idea of what everything looks like, and you can set up a general brand template here with including adding a screen overlay, which is what I added up here with the logo for my client Personality Hacker and personalityhacker.com that will go at the top of each video. And then you can play with the actual look of the captions here that have the different kind of karaoke style pop-ups where it pops up on the screen, and if you want to do one line at a time versus multiple lines at a time, and the text color, fonts, all of that stuff. Only drawback is it only has sans serif fonts. I would like serif fonts as someone who is dyslexic, and I also personally recommend using lowercase text. Now, I know it's popular for people to do uppercase text these days, but I think it's too intense. It's kind of yelling at you, and it's harder to read. And as a designer for 20 years, like, comfort for the eyes and the brain is more attractive, personally. So I just think that's the way to go. So let me close this one, and I'll show you the caption editor. So it's basically a text-based editor, which means you're not going to get fine-tuning necessarily, but the AI kind of does a good job of not making it too jittery or stuttery. And so you can see that it has a strike through all the stuff that it has basically the full transcript, and it's saying, okay, let's use this part. And if I wanted to take, start from here, I can select that and then go to set as start point, and that will automatically cut, the start point. You can see it struck through all of this. It shortens the clip and starts from that different point, right? And so I'll go back to this and set as the start point. And you could do the same thing down here. If I want to set this as the end point, I could do that down here as well. And then it has all of these highlighted words. I don't personally go through and tweak all of the highlighted words. I feel like that takes too much time. But you can set it as the font color, as the highlight color, or highlight color 2. So if you do want to highlight specific things, if I want to highlight 20s, I can do that there and set that pretty easily. But again, the point for me is, like, I'm dyslexic and I want to look at the text as little as possible, right? So what's nice is that I found that the transcript is like 98% accurate. And with Personality Hacker, we're doing weird words like ENTP and INTP and Enneagram 9, right? Enneagram is a weird word sometimes. And it picks it up pretty well. So I feel pretty good about that. It's pretty exciting for my brain to not feel like I have to be hyper vigilant about whether or not things are spelled correctly or pronounced correctly, which is nice. And it has all these extra features which I don't think are necessary. There's this auto B-roll feature, which I'll click and kind of show you a sample of it, but it doesn't do a good job, so I would not recommend using that. And it also has auto emojis, which I think are kind of kitschy and personally not something I want to use. So let me show you a sample of this B-roll.
0 to 1 moments, right? It's like, oh, I didn't know that I didn't know that I could see things that way.
Right.
We talk about how our 30s feel so different than our 20s.
Yeah.
Right.
So, like, these B-roll clips are just kind of random. Like, I don't think it works very well, so I would not recommend using that. The auto emojis are, let's see if there's a point that emoji was brought in. Let's play this.
Plate spinning after a certain time.
Yeah.
So it puts a little clock on there. It's kind of adorable, but depending on the client, like, I don't think it's necessary. So I'm not a fan of that. And then intro caption situation. I think it kind of blocks some of the captions, and I personally don't like it.
Growing up means being tuned in.
But it's something you can do if you want to, like, have it as a title screen concept or whatever. And then the rest is just like customizing fonts, the look, and all of that stuff, right? So you can just go through this and play with it and see what works for you. And then you could change the color of the keyword highlighter. So these words back here that were the blue and the yellow, you could change those colors down here with the AI keywords highlighter. And it's the AI that's selecting those words, and I'm gonna leave it to that, because I think it's just, even though I'm not purposefully picking the words, I think it's interesting to have visually just words highlighted, so it just changes it up a little bit. And then you can change the screen overlay here, which I created the PH Podcast social template, which is just the logo at the top and then personalityhacker.com. And then when you're done, you just save and compile. And I'm not going to compile this one, but it usually takes less than 3 minutes to render because it's rendering online. And then it'll have this like less than 3 minutes sort of symbol up here. And then while that's doing that, you can work on the next one and then just work on the next one and keep going down the list. What I like to do workflow wise is I will let it render. I'll work on the next one. And then when this one's rendering, I'll go back up. I will download it and save it. And then I'll hit the heart. The heart is my symbol to say, all right, that one's done, right? And if there's a clip that you don't want to use, for some reason this one was not good, like this one here, I can open this one up. This one I just didn't want to use because it just wasn't a good selection. It was like an incomplete thought, and it was like it was not something that I needed to make one or two little tweaks and it was fine. It was like, nah, this one's not going to work. So I just downloaded it. There's this option at the bottom, just not use this one. You can obviously give more feedback if you want, but I just put just not use this one and submit, and then it collapses that, which is really nice for workflow, right? So basically I just start going down the line and I start working on these and editing them and then downloading them and then starring them or hearting them. And again, if you're going to be scheduling them directly from here, like you could use this auto poster and auto scheduler, which is amazing. Now, this is not my work. This is my client's work. So the scheduling is on their end. But what we're starting to play with, and I just sent them an email about this to try to make this work workflow wise, is that we can set up a team. So the cost for this is like $20 a month. It's $10 for the starter pack, which is like 150 minutes for $10. And then the pro team plan is $20 a month for 300 minutes, which amounts to, as you can see up here, about 6 hours, 6.5 hours. So if you're doing a weekly podcast, that's a weekly podcast that's like an hour and 20 minutes, like that's more than enough. And then you can add more credits. So if you need to add more, you need to add another 300 minutes. You can add 2 packs. You can go up to 1,500 minutes. Which would be, let me see the cost of that. 1,500 minutes would be $100. And so, if you're really plowing through a lot of this stuff and you have multiple clients, like, just include it in your cost and that will totally work. And then team settings is, you can edit the brand template and all of that stuff. And then team settings is where you can add a team member. I'm not going to click into it because it might have the link to the team invite and I don't want to expose that. But basically you can create a team and you can have 2 people. So in my case, and maybe your case, I'm the contractor and I want my client to be the other team member, and I can pass it off to them and say, like, I'll give them the clip and then I will post it into Opus Clip, and then maybe someone on their team can go through and start editing all the clips or whatever. Or if I need them to review a bunch of stuff, or if they want to use this as their auto publisher, it could be the other way around, where they set up an Opus Clip account and they can go in and do the scheduling and stuff, and then they just invite me to do all of the discernment, to do all of the little bits of editing and all of that stuff, right? So the workflow there can be tweaked. It kind of depends on how you want to go about it. But this one was an hour and 20-minute podcast, and it spit out 35 clips, going down to a 76 score. And I haven't even worked on all of them yet. I've got like 14 clips. And let me show you the lowest quality one to see if this is usable.
I'm like, my body I am so immature in how I've taking care of myself physically. Like, I'm fairly healthy. I don't eat terribly, but I certainly don't attune my body in a way that would be prepared to do really high level personal growth work with somebody in a workshop for multiple days. Like, I could only do a couple of those. I'd probably wear out. I was really exhausted after this last one.
Right.
And so it was awareness to me, and we'll probably talk about this in the next episode, Wake Up.
Yeah.
I had this moment where I woke up to, oh man, my body, my physicality, my voice, my emotions, and all the attunement to that. It's not just up here, it's all of it. Wow, I've been immature. Wow, I need to grow up in this way. I need to get attuned to that. I need to actually take that serious.
Well, and if you're asking yourself that question of like, what am I ready for?
I'm like, my body.
Okay, so that one actually, I'd probably use it. So let me edit here, and I would probably stop it before I started talking. So, wow, I need to grow up in this way, and I need to get attuned to that. I need to actually take that serious. And that's when I started talking. So I would actually grab this and set the endpoint here, set as end, and then I'll play it again and see what that sounds like.
My body, my physicality, my voice, my emotions, and all the attunement to that. It's not just up here, it's all of it. Wow, I've been immature. Wow, I need to grow up in this way. I need to get attuned to that. I need to actually take that serious. Well, and I'm like, my body.
Okay, so I'm actually going to, so you can see that it started to say well, but I'm curious. Let me see if I can set the word before as the endpoint.
To actually take that. And I'm like, my body.
Okay, so I'm going to set serious as the endpoint.
To take that serious. Well, and I'm like, my body.
All right, you see it has like an awkward cut. So there's no way that I can nuance that. I can't cut that out. But I'm going to render it out anyway because it may... sometimes in the editor there's these like awkward cuts, but when it renders, it cuts those out. So I'm going to save and compile, and I fixed the template because I had initially set this up without the right template. So I preset the template, I've got it all up here, and now I'm going to save and compile. And clip not found, it might do that. I've seen that before where it says clip not found. Ignore that. Give it a moment. As things refresh, it'll start to render here. And again, like I said, while this is rendering, I can go into the next one and start to look at it. Let me go back and make sure it's actually rendering. So you can see, yeah, less than 3 minutes, that's going to start rendering. And while that's doing that, let's do another one so I can just kind of show you the workflow.
What I think we're talking about here is like, so let's say you, Christian, as with INTP preferences.
Yeah.
In your growing up process, we all have a natural maturation process or growing up process as children into adults that happens like in a physical way. But as an INTP, let's say you're more focused on the intellectual pursuits. And so you're following your intellectual curiosities, you're understanding more and more, you're taking tons of information in. And so you're quote unquote growing up intellectually.
Yep.
Even beyond just the physical, normal growing up intellectual that we all have. But maybe because of that, you've not tuned into emotions as much.
Right.
So like your emotions, when you get in an emotional place, maybe your kids or your wife is really emotional. Let's just say if you didn't, I know you've done work, but let's just say that you've developed and grown up your intellectual side, but maybe the emotional side, you focus so much on the other, you haven't focused on that. What I think we're talking about here is like,
yeah, I mean, that's good. It's a little rambly, but it's a good example. Like, that's totally fine. Like, I would probably leave that one as is. And so I would just need to come in here, in my case, and update the template, and then save and compile. And save and compile is basically rendering. It's online rendering. So I'm going to give this the last minute that it needs to render. And I basically want to see with this one if that sort of end clip, if it's a smooth ending transition, if it automatically does that or not. And if it doesn't, then I probably won't use it. Now there's a degree because of that idea, because that it doesn't, there isn't a granularity of editing. This is not Adobe Premiere, right? Because of that lack of granularity, it's you have to make that discernment, that decision of like acceptable spillage. Like, is this okay? Is it fine that it's a little weird? And there's also an example while that's finishing. There are also multiple layouts for this. I forgot to show. So let me see if I can find that example. Different unlocking, stepping out of your.
It's why they might join a religion.
Yeah, this is the example. So I'll go in here to show you the bigger example. There are points where multiple people might be speaking or laughing or reacting. And so you've got these split clip options where you can. So if I hit split clip, it will basically create multiple clips of people talking. So if we got 2 or more people, it will split the layout. So if I split it again, I don't think that'll work here actually. Let me go back. Control C does work here. And let me just play this clip as an example of what I'm talking about.
Mastermind or something that will keep them accountable.
And I just realized it's why people say all growth happens out of your comfort zone.
Mm-hmm.
What they're really saying is that all growth happens under pressure.
Yeah.
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 Because pressure isn't comfortable.
I mean,
Yeah.
I think we did it. I think we solved the world's problems.
Okay, done.
I think.
I agree. I like
Did
it.
we
So
do it in a concrete enough way, Joel?
maybe not
No,
totally.
no, we did
I am
not.
talking to 2 NTPs, so
Yeah,
I'm
we're
trying
doing
to
our
get
best
you-
here.
trying to bring you down to earth, but it's okay.
He's trying to make it more.
It's good
concrete.
enough for government work. So I think also the access point here, if you're listening or watching.
All right, so you could see all of those kind of clips were happening. The reason I look to squished is because that's the GoPro sort of lensing. That's not anything Opus Clip is doing to make me look bad. That's me making myself look bad. And then the other thing I think you should know about this editor is that you can select the clip itself. So if I wanted to focus on Antonia here instead, this is per cut. So this is automatically kind of cutting out these sections, and they're individually movable, which some other AI editors do not do well. That's something I've found. So just an important note that I think is something to keep in mind when you're exploring this versus other AI editors. All right, so I'm going to go back and check that final clip. And basically I want to see, again, you saw in the previous clip that I was editing. Let me show you the final version of that one first, because I don't think it cut those awkward cuts. I think the awkward cuts just showed up in the editor, but not in the final.
It's why they might join a religion or a group or mastermind or something that will keep them accountable.
And I just realized it's why people say all growth happens out of your comfort zone.
Mm-hmm.
What they're really saying is that all
So
growth
you see the cuts are a little smoother.
happens under pressure.
Yeah.
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 Because pressure isn't comfortable.
I mean,
Yeah.
I think we did it. I think we solved the world's problems.
Okay, done.
I think.
I agree. I like
Did
it.
we
So
do it in a concrete enough way, Joel?
maybe not
No,
totally.
no, we
I
did
am
not.
talking to 2 NTPs, so
Yeah,
I'm
we're
trying
doing
to
our
get
best
you-
here.
Trying to bring you down to earth, but it's okay.
He's trying to make it more.
It's good
concrete.
enough for government work.
So you get the idea that basically these different cuts are, they look janky in the editor,
Accountable.
And I just realized it's why
but they're not rendered janky, if that makes sense. And then just an example, again, if I wanted to move Antonia over, that's I would just do that. And,
enough way, Joel.
Maybe not.
and then recompile that. But it's fine. It's already done. I'm not going to do that. So let's look at the bottom one as our last example.
Like my body, I am so immature in how I've taken care of myself physically.
Mm-hmm.
Like I'm fairly healthy. I don't eat terribly, but I certainly don't attune my body in a way that would be prepared to do really high level personal growth work with somebody at a workshop for multiple days. Like I could only do a couple of those. I'd probably wear out. I was really exhausted after this last one.
Right.
And so it was awareness to me, and we'll probably talk about this in the next episode, Wake Up.
Yeah.
I had this moment where I woke up to, oh man, my body, my physicality, my voice, my emotions, and all the attunement to that. It's not just up here, it's all of it.
Mm-hmm.
Wow, I've been immature. Wow, I need to grow up in this way. I need to get attuned to that. I need to actually take that serious. I'm like, my body.
All right, so in that case, it did kind of do an awkward cut, and you might have to go into Premiere and minorly edit it, or in this case, we could try this real quick, actually. Since this is the bottom one, I'm going to just name it 035 and have that download real quick. I'm using a Mac, so if you're using a MacBook, you could try what I'm about to try, which is there is an editor built into the Finder.
I'm like, my body.
So I could try this and see if I can cut out that little tiny bit of me coming in at the end. Play
I'm
that.
like, my body. I am so immature in how I need to get attuned to that. I need to actually take that serious.
Right, and then it ends there. So I can hit done, and I can replace it. Simple edit, and now it looks good. So that's the minor adjustment that I would make there if you have the ability to do that, or you can throw it into Premiere or Simple Editor and make that minor adjustment. But if you're using a MacBook Pro like I am, that's one of the things you can do. So I hope this is helpful to you. And I don't know if there's affiliate links for this, but if there is, I'll drop it below. Otherwise, just go ahead and check it out. And let me know if you've discovered anything interesting or other AI tools that have been more helpful for you than this has been for me. But this right now, I find is like the creme de la creme of the social clip editing world. So that's it. I'm Christian Rivera, and I will talk to you next time. See ya.